They won't be in the house.
Yes, 9,000 volts.
They won't take.
They want you down to 12 in quarantine?
They don't have any quarantine.
They don't need quarantine, they're getting the years.
We,
Man, you know, the 10 of them outside, I was, like Sheriff Joe did. Let's go to
Ten city dark county, I'm good with that. County down
yeah, some way in the room.
No air conditioning, we get some shades.
That wire was important. The wall right there.
We're big fans of Mr. Zone.
I have one AC right now with them.
Oh, no, wait, those new ACs, I thought.
Keeps freezing.
Keep an eye on it.
Freezing up. I think that's more expensive than
Really said.
No, ours.
He's saying it's done for, it's pretty long. Done.
The sheriff's stuff is too.
It'll be-
Not allowed to push it up there.
Yeah.
Not pushing or not invading on it, or not return.
Well, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
just not circulate.
So we can get in there and say, that's where we doing that.
Have glasses too.
Yeah. But having them come over there and do all that maintenance over there, I think
Keep the thing going well. I think your utility bills went on.
Yes.
He's a pretty honest dude, you know?
Yeah.
He really is.
Who's that?
Harry.
Time we used to. Yeah, he did us a good job.
He did a good job.
And he worked with us
And he's decent, he always.
Yes, he is. So he's gonna be a boy, another boy. I'm yeah. Right here. That all-
What are your hair?
Oh, by the way,
But if you show up, not where all these boys are having boys, you know, I had to play for all these girls, I think that's what, well, man.
I gave her a hug and
I am looking old.
It'll be fun around the house. It's not against our road.
So rowdy now already.
Little router.
Gray in your hair. He'll be here regularly.
It's not the years, it's the miles, boss.
I got the mouse.
Both of them.
You need me to hang out?
You go hang out with us.
Well, I'm enjoying a tasty beverage, so I don't have to wear a mask.
Broke by horse or
You're here, huh?
Good morning, sir.
You had a little trouble?
I thought about you the other day when I had to fix those rock over here. Keep over here and sit in.
You're a little wild.
Fixed top right.
Yeah,
big You'll be one. We made money.
I did. My family went down. Been seeing that happen a long way. 3 years.
She's got all private money.
They charge that for the. $80 million. 1,076 million this year, 996, I think, last year. It's about $250,000 more in taxes than the same tax rate, our effective rate will be
way down over here.
3 cents down.
We do that and do the other three, whatever.
Be back good. Census would save money on the budget, do that. 27th payroll and, oh Lord, no, they're gonna be mad, the minimum tax on that. There we go, we got running, we gotta pay the bills.
The wheels need to keep rolling.
Guess we can defund the sheriff's office, right? Everybody else is.
Isn't that crazy and awesome?
How does that work?
And then you call them, you know, they're burning my house up. We don't have that.
One thing, if I was a pizza place, I'd get that phone number real quick. Call me, please, you sell pizza. I'm lunch, I'm the Domino's. The Hank's Pizzeria. They have a rash of fast food boys. Nasty little officers' food, screwing up. They can't go to restaurants anymore. Trust the food they get.
I'm taking my lunch.
They're the thugs that's doing it, they're not the ones who drive police. They're not wanting the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it, that one group said, you know, they don't want these things, but whenever the stuff went down, they called the police.
It's called the police, wasn't it?
Yeah, we thought you didn't want it, well, we need you, we got to pay.
It's an as-needed basis.
It's like
an insurance policy. Just
I
like
hate to pay it.
Yeah, you hope you never need it. I know, so some people never need it.
Good morning, Young County Commissioner Shores come to order. Setting in a regular meeting, Monday, August the 3rd, 2020. It is 9:31 a.m. I note that this meeting was posted in the manner and for the time required, that all members of the board are present. Make one other note that this is a live meeting that is being fed live to YouTube. There is a call-in number if any of the citizens wish to participate. That call-in number is 940-221-2107. If you wish to comment on any item that may be on the agenda. If it's convenient, please rise.
That is great. Heavenly Father, we just ask you to be with us today. And we just ask you to bless those that are present with us. Father, we just ask you to guide, direct us, give us wisdom on issues facing us today to better our county. Father, we just ask you to comfort those that lost loved ones this last week and put your healing hand on those that are ill and those that had surgeries. Father, again, we just ask you to watch over us and guide us during this corona and make us strong and brave. And Father, we just ask you to work your will in our lives. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3 is public announcements, presentations, no action item. Although it's not on there, I'll start off with a little bit of COVID-19 update. That last report for Young County from James Burnell, Brown Hospital Administrator. This is through yesterday, through Friday. This is through Friday. I got this report Friday afternoon. The last report, I got this report off. This will be through the weekend. I got it this morning for any August 2nd. The numbers that we show tested are 2,768. The increase of 27 from through the weekend. Negatives are 2,461. Positives are 289. Pending cases are 18. It shows Young County has had 39 active COVID cases, which is down 6. So numbers on those seem to be falling high. These numbers here are, this is also through yesterday. In our 11 county region, there's been 20,219 tests. There's 501 pending or unknown. That means some didn't report back. Negative 16,615. Positive cases 1,335. 1,278 recoveries. And there's been 21 fatalities. 6 of those in one county. Our state numbers, this is as of the 31st. There's been 3,747,779 tests. That looks to me like if estimated or approximately 30 million people, about 12.5% of the population. 430 as of the DSHS last report, 430,485 cases reported in Texas. 6,837 have been fatal. As of the last report, there were 9,539 new cases and 268 new fatalities, and that's as of 8/1 of this year. That would be Saturday. 282,604 recoveries. 141,044 active cases in the state, and those two numbers, last numbers I gave you are estimates. 250 of 254 counties that are reporting cases. The 4 counties that are not reporting any case is King County, population 286. Borden County, population 641. Loving County, population 82. And Sterling County, population 1,143. So our emergency management coordinator sitting out here. Mr. Coker, would you like to say anything about our circumstances?
Well, sir, just keep praying that people keep doing the right thing. We got 2 in the hospital. That's
2 in the hospital.
last night, yesterday.
Very good. Well, some of the numbers do appear to be coming down a little bit, and that's a positive mark. It's been crying out. We've got a little way to go. Yeah. Is there anything else that we, I'll make one more here at the moment, anything anybody else report on? Yeah, we've got one more, and that's in regard to the census. I got a note from one of the census representatives, and Young County's self-response numbers are at 55.4%. We sure need to do a little bit better than that. 35% of those, of the reports have been by the internet. The 2010 census tally for those reporting out of Young County were 63.1%, and we should do better than that. And it was testing trying time, but the report is simple, short, whether you respond in writing or whether you respond on the internet. You can go to Google 2020 Census and find that report easily enough. It'll be just in the next few days, or in a short time, they'll begin the door knocking campaign on all of those residences that they know are not reported. You can report on and maybe stop at that door knock. Just encourage everybody to follow up for that census number. Anything else? No? Okay, item number 4 is consider county clerk minutes from previous meeting, July the 27th, 2020. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
So,
We have a motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Rogers to approve those minutes as presented. All in favor?
aye.
Carried. 5-0. Item number 5, consider treasurer's financial report, updates on security pledges. Ann, do you have anything?
No, they haven't seen the security pledge yet.
No action on that item. Item number 6, consider auditor's budget amendments and voucher payment.
It's the first working day of the month, so we did not have any vouchers put in, so no action.
No vouchers.
No, I always say I have them, but I don't.
That was the first for everybody.
Yeah, it's the first.
You don't need any action there?
No, sir.
That's kind of worse.
You're welcome.
We don't have any employee bonds, I don't believe, do we? Okay. Item number 8, discuss June and July activity reports for our jail and sheriff's office. Honorable Travis Bastrop,
Morning.
Young County Sheriff.
Thank you, Ben. Did we miss last month? All these people. Everything over here. All right. So we'll go to June.
Stocks on the move again.
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe down a little bit. This person was a kid, but,
Yes.
that was pretty bad.
Well, the civil process is still done good. Actually, it was real well. That's probably the only thing that hadn't really slowed down much. But June, working. Sorry, now, what did you say, Jim?
Inmate transport program region, should that be one? So then, I don't have time spent there.
Time training, total time training and officer respect. We had, talking about inmate and grand medical center, we had two at grand medical center.
Instead of wait,
So, well,
instead of
and
wait.
that's not very long.
You just pretty much figure 17-18% of the inmates are gonna have MHMR at one particular.
Everyone got,
Do it out there.
No matter how many we got inside the jail, it's got that same thing. Open the window outside the jail.
that went to,
Both of them had.
yes, I believe it's one female, one male.
This special action, months ago,
Yeah, so, this is July.
Maybe Timmy makes something. Yeah, she'll wait too. You need to,
Yeah. You need one, you need.
Down about five, so I played this one.
only 5?
Down about five, yeah.
All right, let's go, let's do the jail, July jail, because I have enough of them.
What do you say, man? That's what I was saying. How many we got in there now?
Sorry?
How many we got in there now?
53.
You say the wings are full?
It's not full, but what we're having a problem is
Segregation.
having places to quarantine new females when they come in. Yeah. Insurance. So we do, I think, what we have.
Okay.
The real thing you can see is Class C, only at the ground.
Yeah.
What's that? Class Cs? No, we're not accepting any Class Cs.
That's why I think
The only Class Cs we're accepting is PIs and assaults. We started that right after, we started a long time ago.
I'll say we started right after the crisis when this pandemic hit, which we're slowly trying to change that. We are accepting some blessings, but just, right now, we're just not accepting the ones.
You're arresting people with better teeth.
Yeah, well,
0 dentists last 2 months.
we had one, I think, that we had last month. In fact, he went to the hospital. He's a guy that takes it just like this week. They had taken the hospital, he spent like 5 days.
Had that in the past been something quite frequently you've had to deal with?
Oh, yeah.
Teeth.
Because before we had, when we start really getting big clouds in the judicial system, people don't, we don't have any people in real estate. You know,
Give them a break.
on the sheriff's side of it in July, it's not the only, not a part that you can really talk about is, total service calls are down. Everything's a little quieter. It's quiet, different. Too bad for only 3 fires.
More the previous month.
The rest was up. We had 17 in July, we had 5 in June. Yeah.
Is that, methamphetamine, is that one seizure?
On this, on July, yes.
That's my pop.
Good clock right there.
Several dollars worth.
Yes.
It is.
So, I think a lot of the,
Basis for crime.
I think it was more. Virginia has been busy too. They have been, that's the sad part. Yeah. We, are still holding on, TDC started moving a bit, but they haven't got to us yet.
Let me say, wait,
Yeah, I think it was in April when we started. We have quite a few.
keep up with those dates, so we already get refunds.
We should.
Is our auto repair started?
Huh?
Has our auto repair started?
And that's all? Yeah, it's already done. We got it back, Friday.
Blake, good.
Where can you order one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all have any questions?
Looks good.
Let's get the next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Item number 9 is discuss and consider 2021 health care memorandum agreement. This is identical to the ones we have every year and for several years. Monetary aspects of the agreement have not changed. Identical to the ones. I move we re-enter this agreement. Re-execute the agreement. All in favor?
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Wise. Motion myself, second Commissioner Wise. To execute the memorandum agreement with health care, mental health services. All in favor? Item number 10 is discuss and consider resolution for County of Young approval of hazard mitigation action plan. I think approved y'all a little bit, talked a few weeks ago about a letter that our contractor, H2O Partners, received from Texas Department of Emergency Management. That was forwarded on to me. It says, "Dear County Judge, congratulations. FEMA has concluded the review of the Young County multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan, and the plan is found to be approvable pending adoption. In order for this plan to receive final FEMA approval, jurisdictions must adopt this plan and submit a completed adoption package to the state within 90 days. The plan update timeline will begin on the day of the FEMA approved letter. That's June 12th on the letter. Please email the complete adoption package to TD. Then the note said, from H2O Partners, congratulations, Young County's hazard mitigation plan approved pending adoption by FEMA. Please see the letter attached. The next step is for the participating jurisdiction to adopt the plan by resolution. Please see the sample resolution attached, which is in your packet. Once the plan is adopted and the resolution is signed, please send it to me, and I'll send the final plan with the resolution to TD. And I passed on that link to y'all. I know it's voluminous, very voluminous.
I'll second that.
This is what we've been working on for about 18 months, 2 years. All of the 10 counties in Nordic jurisdiction. I think everybody will be complete. Close. Motion, Commissioner Wiley. Second by Commissioner Simon. To approve agency hazard mitigation plan and to adopt the same. By resolution. All in favor?
Aye. I find this an example of how slow government works. When you have to give them a plan to approve, so they can send it back to you, so you can approve your plan you sent to them, so they can approve it.
Exactly.
And this plan is different than most plans. This is a pre and a post.
Is it?
So, you want to get stuff done before a disaster, you can do it. You get stuff after disaster.
It'd be better if we knew it was gonna happen.
That's kind of like our emergency management plan. This, at the end of this will allow our citizens to participate in the storm shelter program.
Right. Is there still grant money available for that?
Well, I think so. We'll get notice, I guess we'll get notice
once it's approved.
And the final approval is there. Now we find out just what it is. I've got Wichita Falls, file, they're doing this. We'll see what the next step is, to get citizens held for that. Cost share program. Let's jump past 11, the rest of the board to our supplemental. And that's the ratification. Agreement between Young County and Positive Radio Network. Stop Mr. Walker's signature on it.
Move to ratify that agreement.
Second.
Side. Second.
Wiley?
All in favor of ratification?
No, I
Okay,
Well, conflict of interest. Appearance.
Appearance.
I had somebody ask me why in the paper he said that he abstained, so. Let him know.
You just made the big bucks.
That's it. Get the gas money, the hamburger.
Okay, item number 11, discuss and consider bond supervision position. City some interested parties out there. District attorney, assistant district attorney, and constable number 3. Good morning. Or this is going to be discussed and talked about. The letter that we received, pretty straightforward on solid decision making.
Basically, what I put together here is just a proposed budget, showing what the city of Graham budgeted last year, how it broke down, and then what I budgeted for this year. I just kind of put some information in there. I'm not real sure exactly what y'all are needing today. I know we're having a meeting, Wednesday morning with the board, so we'll see which direction we are going to be trying to go on this, whether or not the city of Graham will stay in it or out of it, or what their idea is. I believe the DA's office has some information they want to pass on also.
Did you find out what Kelsey was wrong to 5,000?
Only is 5,000. Breckenridge, the city of Breckenridge is one I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm thinking it's 10, I'm 100% sure.
We'll find that out Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. Anyone that wants to attend that meeting is over at the chamber office at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. I know Brandon Anderson will be there, and I've invited several others that are interested in our bond supervision program.
You gonna go?
Yeah.
You can, well, the judge will be there.
This will be a matter, I guess, of our budgetary process. I'll have to look into it just a little bit further, see what the ramifications are and what the conclusion of, final conclusion is going to be, I believe tomorrow.
Well, on Wednesday, Neil Welch will call me, and then Heather Caraway, who is the interim city manager of Breckenridge, will be in attendance, and several others, so.
That's this Wednesday.
This Wednesday, 10 a.m. at the chamber office.
And if they want to go, can we just make it recess to a Wednesday? If the other guys want to go, can you recess to a Wednesday today?
Oh. I'll have to check.
Does it come under the
Who's calling?
executive, all showing?
I don't know that it
I
does.
don't know that it does.
I'll check.
We're going to concerned citizens.
Right now, wants to call it the meeting.
Okay, if they don't take it,
So I think we can all
Brandon
do it.
Anderson's calling it, you should.
it's fair.
Like I said, it might not be put up to the Maintenance Act, I'm not sure that's how.
Judge, if you don't mind, last time we came here, we addressed everything, kind of addressed it on a spur of the moment basis. And I kind of wanted to give you the commissioner's court an idea of what actually happens with the bond supervision. So I went back to 2019 and looked, because that was our last full year, as far as cases indicted versus violations and everything else we had to file. We indicted roughly 300 cases in 2019. And we had about 30 to 35 motions to hold bond insufficient. And so if you just looked at the number of cases that indicted versus the number of cases that we actually held bonds insufficient on, you're probably running 10% of those cases. And that's for violating bond conditions, okay? And that might be having marijuana or methamphetamine in your system, committing new crimes, things like that. But that's actually not a true statement of what's actually going on, because you don't get bond conditions on every case that you indict. You get bond conditions on third degree, second degree, and first degree felonies, and it's mainly second and first degrees. So you can't look at the 300 cases and say, hey, you're running about 10% of people violating your bond condition. A, not everybody bonds out, but B, not every case is subject to bond conditions. Roughly about 60% of them are subject to bond conditions. And so when you say 30 bond violations that led to people having active warrants placed on them, the numbers are significantly higher. You're actually having large group of people that are committing repeat crimes and can't follow the rules while they're on bond conditions. And at the end of the day, all bond conditions are asking people to do is behave yourself while you're on bond conditions, okay? And so when I went to look at the number of people, we had 1 or 2 people that had 3 or 4 violations throughout the course of a year filed on them. So these people are actually going after committing new crimes repeat times. And so when I made the comment about the catch and release, I really kind of mean that that's what you do if you terminate that position, okay? Because there's absolutely no way to monitor the worst of the worst while they're on bond, unless maybe a peace officer comes into contact with them and we get an idea. But they're not, the law enforcement officers are not under an obligation to notify us of those new violations, because they don't know what the violations are, okay? Bond supervision officer knows what the conditions are and is able to see when something is violated, and they report that to the district attorney's office. And so it's not, we don't have catch and release in this county and in Stevens County right now. If you bond out, if you're above a certain level of felony, you're going to be held to a standard of conduct. If you eliminate that position, there is no standard of conduct that these people have to abide by other than making sure they show up to court, and that's not enough in this county. And so I know that y'all are interested in this, and we appreciate you listening to us, and we'll be able to be more than willing to provide y'all what kind of information y'all need to make a educated decision about this. But just willy-nilly cutting that program is a mistake for this county, and it's a mistake for Stevens County as well. And Ms. Peavy and I are here talk about both counties because it really matters to not just Young County, but it also matters to Stevens County as well.
Well, it's not really gonna be issue, it doesn't only pertain to the district court for felony offenses.
Yeah, the district
We
court as well.
also use bond.
What's the discovery process in finding out that they have violated their bond conditions?
I think Cliff should address that.
Well, drug test, ankle monitors, you know, officers making calls out here where they're dealing with these people when they should be home curfew. I mean, when I hear these, and I didn't hear them until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll call the officer up and say, you know, what are you dealing with him for? And he tells me, and I write me a report, or just shoot me an information report, and I'll deal with it in the morning. You know, it's just, you just gotta be alert to what they're dealing with.
Or you haven't checked any violation registers or just listening to it on the scanner?
Scanner, jail logs, if they
Jail
get
logs.
arrested for anything, I check Stevens, Young County, and other counties, times.
So it's a very active thing.
Yes.
Do you also feel like home visits, like they have to be home at 7 o'clock or whatever?
And from my contact with law enforcement, at least with Travis over here, and then I've talked to both Sheriff Holt in Stevens County and Chief of Police Basil Cantrell, and they said that he helps them so much in apprehending people and getting, you know, he's been an essential part of their law enforcement.
I'd like to mention also, you know, he was talking about the 10%, that's indicted cases. Unindicted cases, I file anywhere from 5, 10, 15 violations a month for JPs. And, you know, there's many times they get arrested numerous times going back to justice and peace.
So the numbers may very well be low.
You know, I would say probably 50 to 60 or more warrants are issued a year.
So this job is to hold them to account for their bond conditions.
Yes.
And we are required under law with certain offices to place them on bond conditions.
DWI thirds, things like that, sex offenses, and all these children, on seconds as well.
I mean, just going through this, just figuring through it real quick, it shows the city of Graham has a tremendous number of folks for them to not
Now,
be concerned about, or it kind of concerns me about what's going on in the city politics and that, you know, because they should be concerned with the safety of their citizens, and you're checking on their citizens.
Prior to the city of Graham also, if they have a Graham address, they fall in that to fall in Alabama, they can fall in the county. You know, so it's not to say that every one of them lives in the city. Same with Albany, Breckenridge,
Just your raw number here shows ground and
at least.
And there's additional fines and levies if they violate their bond conditions. Where does that money go?
Unfortunately, those juveniles are bond.
Yeah, you can file a motion to hold the bond insufficient, so the judge may increase the bond from 10,000 to 20, and then they just rebond at the higher amount.
It doubles every time with the court issue, the bottom of it. BSV ought to be higher.
Sorry?
BSV ought to be higher.
Yes.
I get caught.
We had to catch up from him.
Yeah.
There's, you know, to do this, the politics, there's gonna be some other issues to work through, other than just transferring, posting, I guess, if you will. One is another. With elected official, will another way into this, another way into employment. Supervision officer, not necessarily an elected official. I mean, I'm not sure, maybe we can assign that to them. Then there's some other actually we need to discuss that, may allow this to be supervised and probation department, that may include Cliff, our current non-supervision officer, because some of those things that we're gonna have to sort out and find out what we can and can't do. There's pay issues there. That to be taken care of. There may be one of the other entities that may be willing to post this, depending on what this meeting turns out tomorrow. Their letter was pretty clear, I mean, pretty straightforward. But I think we don't want to talk to, have Brandon. We're gonna have this meeting, and so it'll probably be determined this week. Which way we're gonna go.
That letter alluded to budgetary problems being the primary reason. Are there other considerations here that are under the surface that we don't know about that,
Well,
you know?
when I spoke with Brandon Anderson, he was somewhat concerned about the interlocal agreement. He did not feel that it had, he thought that it needed some tweaking and that we should be meeting once a year, but I think as Judge Bullock said, when something's running smoothly, you generally just don't think about it. And he was able to call a meeting and he was concerned about it, he's part of that interlocal agreement. But I think just they want to do some tweaking and adjusting and just have a better understanding of each party's role.
I was wondering if they were dissatisfied with the process in some way.
I don't think he had any idea what this.
What the process entailed.
I think he asked one individual how this was impacting law enforcement, and that individual, I don't think, was as up to snuff as far as knowledge about what was done. So, I think that was the problem. They're
He's
just
making
trying-
a determination without information.
And he did indicate, after he had spoken with Judge Bristow and I, that he had been somewhat educated on the history of this, and he had no idea. So, he may back off a little bit on the procedures. But we'll know more after we all meet together.
We'll take this under consideration, it will be ongoing in our budgetary process, which will now begin to start coming pretty rapidly to a close.
There are two line items that are on the city agreement budget, drug testing and ankle monitors, that they always put on their budget. Ankle monitors are paid for by the defendants. That money is collected, I charge $5 a day for the ankle monitor. The ankle monitoring company charges us $350 a day. So, and I do all the monitoring. The ankle monitoring company, all they do is supply the equipment. So that is pretty.
So that's an in and out
Right,
expense.
right. Plus, a little, $1.58. Drug tests, the drug test costs us $13.25 to have them tested, and we charge a flat fee of $20 a piece. But drug tests, sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't, especially if they fail.
So how much are those two line items valued at? $6,000.
Exactly. So the budget actually reflects $6,000 less than one.
Because that's actually almost revenue.
Yeah, it should be in and out.
It's about 13%.
It is a wash, but there is a revenue actually.
13% is a good.
And your bond supervision equipment, what do you?
Basically, only thing I'm looking at right now, is, printers. I've got 3 inkjet printers, one at each location, and they're 6 years old. They're working great, and they may last another 2 or 3 years. And I have 2 laser jets that, are fairly new. So I just kind of contingency that printer could die any day.
Do you print a lot?
I do. Matter of fact, when we first started with the inkjet, the cartridges were just really killing. And that's why the county went ahead and chose to put lasers.
Laser jet cartridges are not cheap either.
No, they're not, but when you
They
get
last,
over.
they do a whole lot more coverage.
Well, when you get over a year, I think I usually get 1 to 2 years out of the cartridge.
Can you
Oh,
get
wow.
a good copy on these machines in draft mode? Do you try to save ink by doing that?
I'm not sure.
You might want to set your printers in draft, maybe.
Yeah, mainly I use the inkjets. I use, well, that's all I have over the record bridge is an inkjet. But the other two, I just use one of the making copies, it is a copy.
You got 3 different offices.
Yes.
Go ahead.
One is at the police department in Breckenridge, and then I use the office up in Albany, to see my Albany people, and then the one at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, well, the budget here is telephone $750.
That's cell phone, 24 hours a day.
And no support staff, he does it all.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. That's Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
Fishing.
holidays.
I give this phone number out a lot. You know, just to kind of give you some good points, you know, I monitor this 24 hours a day. Wasn't that long ago, sitting there one night about almost midnight, ankle monitor went off. Went to check it. Eventually, it turned out that he was burglarizing the house on the street where he was supposed to be. And we caught him in the process. A few years ago, I had one that he let his ankle monitor die, went looking for him, and when he did come back on, we found him in a motel over in Breckenridge with a 12-year-old girl. He was a victim of a sexual assault.
That's the reason we have bond supervisor.
Absolutely.
I'm convinced there's work, and the bond supervision officer would place task prior to this position, this agreement is taken care of, or that has been honored to the election department. There's superiors, I guess, at the state level, said they couldn't do that anymore. That's what brought the office. Mandates bond supervision office there. I understand that there might be some probation departments that will have to take that back over. Some of our neighbors, like, you know, there may be a place where there's gonna have to be some kind of, it's gonna have to define what the legality, illegalities, or under the circumstances that we're having right now at the time, because of the position, or the other kind of details, paycheck, how that pay is, all that kind of thing. What we do, and I'm not saying we won't do that, I'm saying it comes down to it, we probably will do that. Can't speak for the court, I think that this place there, we're gonna look right, find where the place is.
Well, I think it's been running smoothly under Judge Bristow or the 90th District Court. And really, he works for all of the judges and you and everyone else. Yeah.
More so than anything else, he's working for, not judicial. Again, that capacity of bond supervision. Young County, that aspect, and that elected cost also. Might be sufficient if we don't have to sidestep it.
Whatever y'all need from us, we'll be glad to provide it. And everything else. We appreciate y'all listening to us and hearing our concerns.
Any questions, give me a call.
And again, if anyone wants to show up Wednesday at 10 a.m. in chamber, feel free to. Put your 2 cents in regarding this position.
We'll see what transpires in the
Thank you.
Is it open to the public? Really, I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but.
My editor was asking, that's why I wanted to verify for sure. Try to, anyway.
You might want to talk with Brandon.
Okay.
He's kind of-
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Stacy, you good with no action on Brandon? Well, I didn't know.
You'll be here tomorrow. Have a good night.
There's some pretty good rain, but cracks are still there.
Maybe we'll take a little bit more.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit more. Nothing on burn restrictions, we'll move to item number 13, which is our budget workshop.
Do you wanna do the supplemental agenda?
We did it.
I'll make the motion. Good, everything's
We
good?
did that earlier.
Okay. Had I left you?
You left the
We're
bed.
into the ship.
Can we take a break?
Right.
Great.
Right.
Bernie? About 10 minutes. You're long.
Yeah, one of those back there. No, he's on first, but he doesn't have bags. But he doesn't have bags, that's a bad thing.
Get done. Just really all I need to do is hand it to you all. Okay? Good. No matter what I say, you're gonna take care of it.
So we need to figure out how to do what we do.
I know, yeah, I got a surprise that I didn't know. Right. Yeah. Not good. He's saying that they can use all the costs they have in the system now. If it goes out, we're still. So, my opinion, I didn't budget for this, and I didn't put it in my budget. That's what I'm saying, okay, how we gonna do it on this budget? Okay, that's what I agree with you, that's what I agree with you. We need to do it now, I'm waiting for the budget to get here. That's what we get the budget now.
There's a reason that do happen on this day.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
We've already seen what that does.
Yes.
Will had
Mark Williams. That's what she said.
I'm gonna move Jimmy's chair over here, out of the way. I don't like that little chair.
You think Jimmy would know you got his chair?
Yeah. It's, force in his butt. Will that go by there?
We'll make it.
All about the angle of the thing.
Here it is.
There you go.
More in prison, than probably Texas probably has more people in prison than anybody.
You know,
And the liberal media makes it think like we're putting people who don't belong in there.
Burn them out and see what happens.
yeah, well, that's what we say.
Just because we're catching more of them.
They really believe we're just turning them loose, even today.
Oh, I read on Facebook all the time, says this don't matter what they do, just we're gonna let them go. And here we are talking about trying to hang on to them.
We don't kick them out unless they are,
What percent of the capital crimes, I wonder, are committed by people who have been released on
I mean,
charges? I mean, they're just bad people.
look in New York City where they were just releasing them with no bond.
Yeah.
No bail at all, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they get what they ask for, aren't they?
There you go, what was it, 390 something?
I don't know.
You want for Kay?
Killed
How many?
390 something this year.
What'd you
777.
Maybe it was 700, but it was already higher than what it was.
It's called my notion because it's all 777. And yeah, it's already ahead of last year.
Yeah.
So you go with K1 too?
Would you mind? No.
Hope they don't mind me touching it.
This won't take.
I did just wash my hands though.
Good.
Except for this one thing that I'm gonna blow you on the mind.
What's that?
Well, I just found out that we have a issue.
Okay, so it's obsolete. So it's an emergency purchase. What is it? Fireworks at the jail? Yeah, we really are talking about a problem there. We had a fire breakdown, didn't we? But it works until. By the time you get paid for it, for a while. Yeah, expensive purchasing something like that, jail, house, car, whatever, never ends, it's always a major problem. Is that a new logo you did?
You know, this is a logo that Walls had done with something. I don't know.
Sure, a lot of colors in it.
So, you know, I've been buying my shirts with Walls, and they sent me these shirts. Black layer, which is pretty good. So I called and texted her, you know, I said, so this is one that I will explain to you guys. Order on number that you need to sit there. And you don't need, I need to be able to, you don't need to clear. You have more for control. Clear. You have more for control. Clear.
And you know which shirt, how that's styled.
And I said, now you're giving me something I didn't order. Well, they wouldn't take back any charge, so.
Did they not charge it?
No,
Because that's an expensive logo to embroider.
Yeah.
You know, because of the number of colors. Free. Try to get back on your good side.
Yeah, these are different.
It's not, it's good though.
Yeah. It'll be all
I
right.
hadn't noticed you wearing that logo before.
No, Walls did this a long time ago.
What? That logo.
Remember that?
That's how he spent his time? Making logos? Going to the casino and hunting out west? Is there some others I didn't hit? Probably so. This is the way this is like.
What we, so I was telling Commissioner Symes, we have a not interested in us here with it. Nothing, it was just something that brought my attention. They don't do it.
Who brought it to your attention?
Never really paid attention.
Okay. So it wasn't the,
Oh, no.
wasn't the alarm gun?
We're good right now.
Well, this chair was covered.
You like that?
I'm glad
Oh, it'll
it's
be warming real quick.
higher, it's higher up than here, so.
So.
Oh, I'm working on a grant. 2 years ago.
I didn't tell you, but I said, read it morning. I think Mike said just read everything.
I am. You're ready for one, now you might read it all.
Did you get all my numbers together?
You know, I,
You guys can do it, right? Well, no, you can't. You don't ask, you don't give.
Yeah, no, that could commercial though, doesn't it, guys?
I'll approve it for you, Travis.
No, yeah, what you don't ask for, huh?
well, I think the city department deserves it.
Well, I think that we might tell taxpayers, well, we didn't have anything choice that they asked for.
That's right.
That'd be good.
And
When you're ready,
I
for
think
giving
that's
yourself $100 a month raise.
I think they'd say they deserve it.
Deserve. Don't do that thing.
Yes.
Harass citizens, folks.
That's what the criminals think. Oops, I had a raise, I guess they do.
Why y'all need all them cars? Yeah.
Well, there's something to be done about those cars that fix the big right for us. Of course, I have a couple, but they.
Well, we'll just have fewer cars on the road.
I wish I had some. I never took one.
We get them to,
I can fix it.
we got to accept the donations.
Yeah, me too.
And I never accept anything that eats.
Except the dog.
That's a dog.
She's a good girl.
She is. How much other chicken for this week? What kind of parts of that? Go run out?
We've had some chicken left over, run out of sausage.
Here's the food crowd.
We were, actually, we sold a bunch. Here it is.
Talk to Jimmy and do that. Either it'll be a bust or it'll be really good, one of
Well,
those.
we didn't get near enough Dr. Peppers, I can tell you that. Sherry and I were grocery store, we did, Jimmy was more Dr. Pepper, now he Coke Zero. Coke Zero. Anyway, so we had Coke Zeros left, Dr. Peppers were gone by that noon.
I bought a trailer out of my office, one registered a while ago when I come in.
It's doing all
I
right.
don't know how he figured it, he had it registered for 9,000 pounds of load capacity. It's a,
Gross vehicle weight, 9,000?
yeah, and it's a gooseneck, 22-foot, goes to 10,000.
Red and water.
No, well, then,
9,000, the trailer weighs 5,
We should start charging them now.
you wouldn't want to pay the registration.
Making this weather.
so I dumped it up to 32.
Arena now.
You did it right.
Yeah,
They charge us.
At least if you get stopped with a load on it, you know.
I'm gonna build that.
Get it started on the, that's a whole.
Yeah, whatever you pay registration will be cheaper than the ticket.
Yeah.
That, Class C.
So I was sitting there, she put your read me off what was right.
It's costing us.
That don't even add up.
Is there a tag on the trailer?
Do
Is there a
what?
tag on the trailer?
I like it.
What's the GVWR on it?
I don't
I'd have to look, I got it.
force their hand.
I bet it's,
Or no, it's shop built.
is it shot deal? Okay. So it's got two 7,500-pound axles?
Yes,
Or 10,000?
12,000.
12,000 pound. They're 24.
Sure, what's it? I'm just joking.
Stop it.
She can't do the sheet, I mean,
He's aggravating.
no, he just stupid, he really wasn't.
Golly.
Talking to you like your wife, aren't I?
Yes. Something like that.
You raised it, but I'll take the salaries on this one. Trying to get you to the city, but.
I got the calendar, I got the calculator on that.
I've got one of those calculators I haven't had in a long time. I love it.
This one I think was approving the orders.
Those are.
I think that's where I got it called Quill or somebody.
There were two of them, one in the judge's office and one I something on it.
They say read more like server. It's got big numbers too.
Yeah, definitely not big numbers become well.
It's like the Bible too. Go back in the day, you like the Bible.
Small words, done by.
Now you like the words about it.
Yeah, you can see it, don't you?
I will be 15 pounds, 2 to 3 foot.
They're that big, you still have to wear your glasses.
I know it.
Still have to wear your glasses.
Okay, we'll come back to order. Come out.
You got it.
Statement of expenses. Yes.
16 minutes till 11. Got the sheriff here in the hot seat. Like to play the floor.
Feel pretty good. Okay, first off, I'd like to say one thing about an item that has came up since we did the budget on the jail. It brought to my attention that we have on our fire alarm system is obsolete, not really obsolete, but we won't be able to find any more parts if something happens to it. We won't be able to replace the whole thing. And the bid that we had so far from Century was for $70,000 to replace the whole system, that's sprinklers and all. So that's something I need to bring to y'all's attention today. I didn't add this into the budget for next year, and I'm not sure we want to wait till next year.
Just give you that what price?
Century Fire,
They're out of,
Fort Worth.
we're using that commercial, electronic out of Wichita now for the courthouse.
Give them a shot at it.
Well,
Did you put it in?
I said if,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to.
We'll have to.
if
Oh, yeah, it's over
70,000.
50,000, yeah.
This is our own system.
Yes, sir.
Well, I can ascertain what he's telling me is,
I'm sorry.
Don't want to get out late for a different
yeah, become obsolete, they discontinue parts for them, that's what I understand he's saying.
Right.
I think we ran into that problem.
I don't think this is something we need to wait until
We have a
we
problem.
have a problem.
Well,
The problem we had is it showed us this problem, but we need to go ahead and get this thing, get some bids out there. Get this
Yeah,
going.
that's
Put it out for bid, just
we have to put it out for
Yeah.
bid, so, yeah.
They brought it to our attention, and that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So Vanderbilt brought it to your attention?
Well, the Century Fire did to Mitch, and then he gave it to me today, so.
You and Cheryl get together, puts an analysis, you put it out for bid, so we can get it.
Okay.
Something, yeah, because it's gonna be in the building.
What is that, 13 years old?
So much they spent last year on building
Let's see what it is here today.
it. 2019, we went a little low.
So far this year, we budgeted
35.
40,000 this year, and we've spent nearly 37,000. So there's only 3,000.
There's not room for a fire alarm system in there.
No, sir. Not with all the others.
This system, that system runs through the whole building, the fire building, or
The
just.
sprinkler system does, yes, sir. Central Control.
Why are utilities so low?
Our rates,
That
Is
sure
that right?
helps.
So there's some
That
money
sure
there that
helps.
we're gonna have left
I was
over.
gonna turn the lights off and down.
That's Good. Managing the
They're
electric.
all in the dark back there.
Leave them in the dark.
The jailers have flashlights.
Seriously, I do turn lights off in the admin part at night.
That's like about $3 a month.
Right, that's $3.
That's $3. 25, 731, what do you got? Sure.
Look at the big picture of today.
Yeah. You may have moved up in summertime.
We found by looking at the
That's what I was
I'm here sitting there looking,
So on electricity, we budgeted 62,000 and today we're 35,500.
wow, that's great.
35.5 through 3/4.
Yeah, this will be through, there's only 2 months left. So we've got 26,000 left in there for 2 months, so we will not use it. I did not, but I can just.
For sure,
Here.
end of the 2 months, they'll use more electricity than any of August, September.
Yeah, the gas and water, on the gas, we budgeted 18,000 and, we spent 13,000, so there's 4,700 left. The water, 25,000 is what we budgeted and, we've spent 17,600, so there's 7,300 left.
Well, for just new utility contractor, you manage it better, but those are better numbers.
And we changed, was it this year, we changed on the cable to that special district? And it's gonna save us a bunch.
I don't see why we don't get a bid on this stuff, that fire suppression. Go ahead and run them through this year's deal and use the overage we have on these other line items to take cover there.
Now that we can.
Yes.
I told them to get together, figure something out to get a bid out.
It looks like we're gonna have food service money left,
Yes.
because, we've got 44%
That way we can
remaining.
budget for next year.
Right. So I agree.
That will be helping us a bunch.
Yeah.
We need
Use the
to,
current tax receipts rather than new tax receipts.
Yes.
We need to go out for bids and open them.
I would check that.
3 weeks.
I really, nothing that way.
You know, they call me all the time, looking for ads and things.
I don't even know if the company that way does the fire suppression.
I don't know. We use the one out of Wichita Falls for the courthouse. So it'd be something I can send out some letters.
That's what I was gonna say, this, this just sends out letters.
Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah, you have to run it in paper.
Yeah, we do. We might even check with other people, first one to jail, and see what they use.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah, it's referrals would be good.
Yeah. We don't want one that's fixing to go out next year, we want something more current.
We don't want $70,000.
We don't want flopping that company.
Something got to look
They
at.
did, we'll know until we compare it.
That wouldn't hurt to call like Wise County and Alabama, whoever. Say,
Good
y'all-
part of the metroplex, there's more vendors.
No, I'm saying call it jails.
Except for the
Yeah,
building.
go to the metroplex, but there's
We
more
were using
complicated.
the one out of the Metroplex and then they're going to be a whole lot higher and they weren't doing the business.
Yeah, there were shysters there too.
Oh, yeah, we're still waiting on the credit on it.
Yeah, there's some utility money there.
Yes.
So we're gonna go to jail first.
You want to do jail first?
Well, I guess we could do jail since we're already there.
Talking about it.
That's it, we do the jail. I don't know. I'd like to know why.
Why what?
That electricity's so low.
Look at our prices.
Yeah,
We did start in
she did a
May
good
with
job.
TXU, and TXU rates were a whole lot cheaper, but our contract
Started May,
started
a year
in
ago.
May.
Okay, good.
She did a good job.
Good.
Why is holiday pay?
I don't know, 'cause I haven't got that far, I was going.
I
And
mean, it shows
something that-
13,000.
Something that Ann and I have talked about, and finished talking about it on the holiday pay, because if let's say they're off and if they don't work it, then that holiday pay, they carry it, they don't have time to take it, and, but if we, holiday comes up, if they work it, they get holiday pay, if they don't, they get paid. I mean, if we could, it increase the amount of that, but we're not gonna have it come up like this. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay it anyway. So, you don't want to lose. I don't know. You gotta be there. That's why it's holiday. So we spent $6,000.
Never spent 30,000 before.
Probably.
What's the justification for that?
For what?
For the 30,000. Well, another one of those? Okay.
But if we start paying, everybody else, because like I said, they carry it. And if you pay them off at the end of the year, I mean, that's gonna be a whole lot more.
Well, we need to have a new policy for that. Is there any way to fix that?
I don't know, it's up to treasurer, she's what has.
So if they don't work their holiday, they can pay for the holiday and they can pay for the day they work.
Well, that's it, no.
If they work the holiday, they get a holiday pay.
Yeah, we get holiday pay.
Now, if they don't work and it hangs on there, but if you just go ahead and, they're gonna get their regular salary, but then go ahead and pay for that holiday. Right then, get it off the books. That way, we're not carrying so much liability as they do as the holidays. I. Get that.
You don't take that jail transfer over time, completely off, right?
You start talking about holiday pay?
I know
I
it's,
put that $10,000 back on.
Oh, you?
Yeah. Because I figure if it goes over, then it's gonna get filtered up through something else anyways. That's my thought.
You just took like $12,000 off that, huh?
It's never been over 30,000, so it's never been 18,000. It's been
but I
budgeted.
think the reason that we do is because we talked about doing that in there.
Was that under your suggestion, sir?
Well, if we can get Ann in here,
Let's see what the big picture is, so we'll know exactly what we want.
Yeah, we just need to know what the real charges are, though, but if we're not, if we have a chance to grab a hold of it, we need to do it. Ann would have a picture of it for us?
yeah, she was talking, she talked to Michelle herself, she said, that way you get that holiday off your books, and you get the liability of it off your books.
All three departments has increased holiday pay. Can you get it on the phone last
She's here.
year? Holiday
Can you-
carrying over.
Get Ann, will you get Ann here, please? Will you get Ann? Double dispatch and add it to 4,000 to sheriff's office.
They carry them through December. I mean,
$25,000
their holidays
increase there.
don't go away at the end of September, their holidays. Some of them, like I say, he's short a deputy, he's been short too until just recently he hired another one, he's been short deputy, been short jailers, and you're down two dispatchers.
Why don't y'all just close one day a week?
We don't take calls.
I'm sorry, I'm close.
Hey, and I'm talking to him about that holiday,
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of carrying holidays, they'll pay them for them. But wouldn't it, well, Travis and I went over his budget, so what we did is go ahead and increase the amount of holiday pay, because you're gonna go ahead and pay them off instead of letting them take it off or carry it over.
Let's increase the amount we paid them over the previous year.
You'll still have to factor in a little extra because if they work on that day, they get paid regardless. They get however much they work that day. So you have to take the number of employees. Some of them are gonna take it off, not all of them are gonna work it.
What are you charging the whole day against this line here, or just to have all of that, half time?
No, it's, you get paid, the way it works is, and this is, I've talked to millions of people, whatever they work, the law enforcement on that day, they only get 8 hours taken from their hours, but if they work 20 hours on that day, they get additional straight time for 20 extra hours for holiday. If they work it. If they take it off, they don't get just like a day off, they just,
So the 20 hours comes out of that line?
it's paid out of that line.
And 8 hours is something.
The regular
Pay for
salary.
28 hours that day, 8 hours regular time, and
But
20
they
hours.
don't, but if they work 12 hours, they
I
don't.
mean, the way it's
Yeah, yeah.
figured. Well, those 8 hours become more per hour. and then-
Sure, there's nobody that works at the sheriff's office an 8-hour shift except dispatch sometimes on a holiday. They would work 12 usually, and so the whole 12 hours would come out of that holiday line pay. But some don't take them, some take them off on another day, but if we didn't give them that option, they wouldn't gather up all those extra hours and then be paid later and
Not be able to,
not be able to take them off.
because that goes for, I mean, we don't go through those last 3 months of the year also.
Sometimes they have a lot of hours hooked up that they are just not able to take off.
So in your opinion, what should that line item be?
Well, if Cheryl figured that, it's probably correct. I mean, some people are gonna go ahead and schedule off and not get paid for it, because they're not, that's what they do. There's some people that always take every holiday off. That's
If they
probably,
can.
30,000?
yeah, I mean, what is it in the past
It's
year?
increased by $12,000.
Like the most we've had just on regular, not
18.
paid.
That's
Well,
Pretty far.
no, it's the way, because it's skewed,
45.
because if they leave, or they get, it's not gonna be taken out of their final paycheck out of the holiday fund, it's just gonna be paid straight hours. So that's why it's kind of skewed, I mean,
Where
if
has it
they
been
had.
before now? Where is this amount been before now? Why are we moving 18 to 30? Where's that $12,000 been?
If they have them on the book, say they leave, they get fired, they quit, there's 56 hours of, it doesn't come out, it comes out of the regular pay, it doesn't come out holiday.
What I'm saying is these things not occurred before this. Has
No,
this
we,
been happening?
no, we have not paid the people that work on, I mean, they work on the holiday, but if they don't work on the
And
holiday.
that was the question
they
I was
carry it,
asking, is not what you're explaining, is what I was asking about, why has it not occurred before now?
Yeah, because they carry, and
Yeah,
then they can't take it or they leave.
I mean, it's just a number, it comes out of their salary anyways, it's just moving it to a different line item. When they go over at the end of the year and we run over budget, it's because usually there's people that have left or been paid extra for something or another. But the way it works is that they took the holiday off, but they came in and they worked the extra shift, then they didn't get paid for that holiday because they worked another shift. So it's just like round robin, they're really not getting a holiday paid.
See, in the deputy, because there's not as many deputies, we have budgeted 10,000.
What it really is gonna do is it's not gonna increase the overtime anymore, you know what I mean? Because they're gonna go ahead and get paid if they took it off. It's not gonna count as hours worked, they're just gonna get paid straight time for that holiday. They're not gonna get the time, double time, time and a half, whatever.
So if the county has 13 paid holidays, you got 5 dispatchers, so you got 2 that's working, and those 3 that don't actually have to work, do they actually get a paid holiday later?
Yes, and if they took the holiday off that day, then they would be paid for their holiday, just like the regular pay.
If they're on schedule to even work that day,
Day off.
Right.
generally you take that holiday.
Yes, they do. Sometimes.
If they-
But it just runs until they get somebody gathered up and then people quit, people come, people take vacation. A lot of counties do it that way In the courthouse, we do it that way. If they don't come to work on that day, for whatever reason, they still get paid.
But isn't it something Michelle Arsenault?
Yeah, Michelle Arsenault said we
Suggested, she said it'd be cleaner, you'd get it out of your way.
I mean, in the long run, it's just moving it from one line to another because they're not gonna be going over in the regular salary lines and all that. Because it's just moving it from one line to another. I mean, I just think it's more fair, it doesn't, we're not liable for it because at the end of the year, if they haven't used it because the way the payroll falls and they haven't used it and they haven't been paid for it, we're still liable for it as far as the outside bookkeeper books it in as liability towards the
My captain
county.
would love it if they didn't have to.
Yeah, because then you have to calculate the value of the retirement, everything on it, and that becomes the county's liability towards those hours not taken.
Dispatcher, work 12 hour shifts, give 8 hours for holiday.
Well, if it fall, if the law for law enforcement, if they work on the holiday, they get paid holiday time for the entire day. They'll get 8 hours taken off the books, but it's different laws for payroll for law enforcement. They would get, if they took it off, or they would get paid, any way they work, they would get paid for it.
And then what you're saying is that holiday
Comes off
Yeah,
of their,
I know what you're saying.
and they
now.
can't take it at another
Right.
time. We're not liable for it anymore, we've paid it out.
Not scheduled to work on their actual holiday, they get 12 hours.
It'll be on the state tax where they're scheduled to work on that holiday. It's not, I'd like to work this holiday, it's just
Yeah.
scheduled to work on that holiday.
Yeah, and then it's really easier for you because you don't have to schedule people, oh, they've got 4 holidays they've got to burn off. We've got to schedule them, and then we've got people working overtime to take up the slack for the person that didn't show up and is going to take their holiday at another time. They
Now
only
they're
get
getting
to,
overtime,
they
yeah.
get to take only 8 hours for that day.
Right.
But if they took 2 or 3 that they had on the books, then he's got to schedule somebody in for overtime to take up the slack because we don't have extra dispatchers to come in and, oh, we're just gonna take up a shift for a holiday. So really, it's gonna end up, I think, being less in overtime
So if
and everything. I think it will really bring the
Right, it will.
holiday down.
I think all the overtimes are over already right now.
And a lot of people will want to be paid, and then there won't be so many disgruntled people because they weren't ever able to get scheduled off, and they got, an extra 40 hours or an extra 8 hours for that holiday. And it's not paid at time and a half or double time or anything like that. It's just straight 8 hours.
Like the jail overtime, so 5 times now, we do have that, we have jail transport overtime, which we could.
Yeah, we're gonna run
So
that.
everything came out the other one.
But that is usually when the overtime gets really heavy, is when people are trying to take vacation days or holidays and pick up shifts for people that are not there. And it's usually the same people, that they'll take any shift, and always the people are gonna take their days off because they've got family or whatever, that they always take the holidays.
And some overtime is 36,000.
Well, but that too is because they were short, so their regular pay is gonna be a little under, but then you've got people leaving and they'll get paid off their vacation and things, so.
And dispatch overtime.
I just think it would be a cleaner picture, everyone would be happier, he won't have such a hard time with scheduling, and it's not gonna be, oh, I'm gonna take my holiday on a different day. If it fell and you didn't work, you can't take it the next day, you'll have to take vacation instead, you get paid for your holiday and be down the road.
Shit.
And that will burn up some of their vacation pay, because like there's some, well, I'm gonna take a trip and I'm gonna let all my holiday hours gather up, and then I'm gonna use that, I don't wanna use vacation, I'm gonna use my holiday time, so.
So the 30,000 is good.
I think 30,000 would be a fine number, I mean, just to see how it works the first year, because,
It may be.
And it's gonna come out looking a little different because it is gonna be paid out of the holiday line. And we'll get a better picture of what actually
What's
comes out of holiday,
Right.
because now it may come out of regular pay.
Overtime.
Yeah.
Should we lower the, bid up that overtime?
I would
a
think
little
you'd
bit?
probably be able to keep the overtime the same, because a lot of the overtime is because of the holidays.
You keep it 30.
Okay, now I'm seeing where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
So now
That's
it's
the
30.
question I was asking.
We're at 35 right now, and that'll change it.
And
So
once
they'll put
that,
the money in this holiday line, we'll be reducing those lines above.
and once you're, you're
Yeah.
fully staffed and there's not so much
Transparency.
turnover, it's not gonna. Yeah, because we really, because you can't, it's too hard, you can't pay people out of the holiday line if it's not a holiday. You can't say, oh, I'm gonna pay all that money out of the holiday line, then you've gotta go back and adjust their regular line of pay. So this way, it's just gonna come out
Right.
a better picture.
So do we want to leave the overtime like it was?
I think you probably wanna leave the overtime
30,
at
because it should mitigate that line
Yeah, I
by
think it
moving
will-
into holiday.
I think it will come down, and I think we'll see a better
That's the relief
actual,
valve, that's
Number.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
We're
then,
30 on the overtime.
yeah.
and then not have that
Hopefully
jail
it comes down
transport
more.
because we haven't been taken, that would be too
Where is
difficult.
that at?
Yeah, we
It's
haven't
right
even
underneath
used that
the-
because,
Right underneath the jail.
I mean, you could consider adding, well, you can't really do that. Let's just say, putting that in overtime or something, because- or half of it.
Yeah,
in
because that's
overtime.
what's gonna help up here.
Because
but
that's
then-
usually what the overtime come from, is from someone doing a transport.
Right.
So if you took half of that overtime money and moved it into, or the transport money, moved to overtime, that might work, because, I mean, really and truly, if someone's taking someone all the way to Oklahoma, or all the way to the facilities at Huntsville, and back and forth.
They would have one going to South Texas.
Right.
Drove down there, spent the night, picked up the.
Right. And that's usually what the overtime comes
So
from.
if we put 35,000 on overtime, we put 0 on the jail transport
Yeah.
overtime.
I think
Then
that
you'll
would be
take
better.
5,000 and then make that holiday
And just about wash it.
Yeah,
30,000.
So 35 on the 150 and then 0 out the 151.
Yes.
and you might consider kind of the same thing in the jail, because a lot of times there's,
It's a jail.
oh, it is a jail, yeah. And a lot of time it's because the person that is taking them, somebody has to pick up a shift, or the person that has a jail
Right.
shift,
Right.
and so that's where
Usually
a
the
lot
ones
of
that are doing
the.
those long transports are the ones who are not working shifts and getting overtime.
Right, like a yeah.
What about the part-time deal?
No.
Because it was at 10
I have a part-time transport,
Could we lower that number too?
See, on here, he's marked it off.
I have a person that is interested in doing that. He just hasn't committed yet. I would do
So we've got 10,000, you make it
where
5,000.
I think five, because look way back in,
Overtime.
way back in 2017, it was less than 4, so I think if you put 5,000 in there, just to see how.
where you at.
562,108.
So your part-time guy would be your jail transport if you had like, she was saying you had, because then you'd cut down on overtime there.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But as long as they are the part-time person that's doing the transport.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
You know,
yeah.
if the part-time, but if the part-time person was a certified jailer and took up a shift in the
This-
jail,
this
then that
not-
would
that's
cover it
different,
too.
yeah.
Well,
This
it would
guy's a
help.
part-time jailer, not part-time. He does have his jailer's license.
Right, so that would help you either way, if you had someone that needed to go on vacation or had something happen.
It'd be $12 an hour.
Right, right.
So,
But they would, they would have the retirement, you'd have to figure that in.
So we,
lose this 10,000 on that part-time.
Well, no, she said move to 5.
Yeah, 5 would be good.
Vance
How
said
much,
5.
depending on how much.
Yeah, but even, we have never, and whoops, forever ago when we had Mr. Scott, well, he didn't really work
how
that
much did he
much.
use that?
He,
Well, there's a,
I don't know, it's been years.
Yeah,
It's been, it
so-
was before 17.
I think it started out with 5, and, you know, next year, if it looked like that was working out and they stayed, then, you know,
Because at 17, you had 36.
There's no sense in over budgeting it when you don't, when we're not using it. You can use that in your other and make it, keep it about the same budget, just move the numbers around. It's not really that they're, I mean, they're short-handed, so it's making it look like he's going over budget, but they're not because they haven't had closed staff. You know, we've got, what do we have?
Yeah, when you're understaffed,
Two
here comes the
people
overtime.
quit in the sheriff's office this last week, so,
So what are we
you
gonna,
know,
what are we
gotta
gonna
pay
do?
off all their vacation and all that kind of
What
stuff.
are we,
5,000 in the hut? Okay.
562,108? Yes.
And dispatch seems to be a lot better. They're working more consistently, not having so much overtime. There's a few people that have had overtime, but
Okay, so 562,150 is 35, and holiday pay still at 30?
yeah.
Yes.
And while Ann's in here, can we go ahead and talk about other salaries, and then we'll get back to the basics?
Okay.
So let's look at 560 and look at that holiday pay on the 560.
Well, I must say that the deputies work more overtime and more holiday time than anybody else out there, so.
So you think we won't be paying them off and maybe up the overtime? So we up the overtime to 3,000.
I should probably leave that and probably bring that up a little bit too.
That's a total of 7,000 more between the two of them. So I guess they have to start moving money between them. 38,000 in overtime, 14,000 on holiday pay.
Let me tell you what the holiday on.
They do have a lot of overtime, like, especially if something happens, you know, then it seems like everybody's working.
So right now, on the overtime, we budgeted 35, and we spent nearly 41,000.
And now we're short again, deputy.
Well, it took him 6 months to replace the one that left in February, just finding somebody to come
And
in.
that's what brings their overtime up so much.
They're just short,
And when
always.
we found one, then the other one
Quit.
to go, well, he got hired as a chief.
If it was me, I'd add at least a little bit more to that.
To the overtime.
Yeah. I don't think the overtime will be okay.
Probably about what I have up there right now.
But their salaries are, shouldn't be, where's all the deputies?
Yeah.
I mean, but what's the actual budget that they've been spending on their regular? Or not? Plus, they're having extra money in there, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And we've only got, the extra payroll, which is gonna be out. Did you take that extra one out of there?
And then you've got 7%
We've
more
only got
in the
three.
deputy salary line because they haven't had the deputies hired.
Let me ask you a question. Like, okay, he's missing a deputy. So that pay is like not moving.
And the insurance is,
Right, so does that move to the over?
no.
We don't, I don't know.
Okay.
It just, it looks, their overtime goes way out of control, but we don't move money down there to cover that. At the end of the year, the bottom line is he probably wouldn't have spent as much as he normally would have, but they do get more salary because there's nobody to pick up the slack. So some people get some outlandish, some of them get some overtime checks that are 40, 50 hours. So,
But they're working in
yeah.
lots and lots of hours per time I run that same.
Yeah, some of them work like a bunch of days right in a row with no rest between them, so.
What's the current on 56311 and 330?
Where you go?
On what's
56311, uniforms?
We're jumping around.
That's not 560. Oh, 560. Oh, 560,
311.
311.
You ran it all together.
56311.
We
5, 6.
He hasn't spent a whole lot on uniforms because we got a bunch in last year, but
With different sizes.
Yeah, but you know, I don't see,
Ought to be some room there, ain't
Where's that? I don't see how that's even fine.
there? 763, not
well,
much.
let's look at the other, let me look at this, because, you know, Sherry pays on how it's written on there, and if it's not written.
What's the difference between it and?
Well, we haven't really, seems like
She
we,
doesn't know, she charges the precinct too.
I do. Is that compute?
Yeah.
we haven't bought anything for a while, seemed like we were buying a lot of dispatch.
No, they only spent 37,129 in uniforms, so you got 5,000 budget.
It was all of those other uniforms, you were just not a whole lot. Now dispatch is used all their, no, they've got it all remaining.
Yeah, it's all remaining.
Well, they haven't really bought anyone, they bought a bunch of t-shirts that one year, and then,
and we're still trying to decide what we want to do with this match.
can I ask you this, why do dispatchers need uniforms? I mean, is it in a?
I'll tell you what, but they're winning.
I myself would hate to wear a t-shirt.
But they want stuff that matches, they want stuff that's, you know.
It'll be on the team.
I
Yeah.
would hate to wear a t-shirt, I was just.
I don't have good t-shirts at all. I'd rather have polo shirts.
A polo with the collar
Yeah.
and buttons.
I would, hey, this is what I would suggest you do.
Yeah.
I would suggest, if you want whatever uniforms you want in any of these departments, I'd get them ordered in this year's budget, so you can get them paid in this year, because you ain't spending money.
No, and I'm about to place an order, and plus, there's an order that's already been turned in, that's
That you got the bill
$1,500.
on it. We hadn't got the bill yet.
Yeah,
How much is it?
it's almost 1,500.
Yale or
No, in, Troll.
Dark ones that you got in your office.
I mean, I guess it is safe when they're walking around and, you know they belong there, but.
See, that's the deal, you
Watch
get
the
$7,000
movies.
in there.
Just do it. Fast renders in.
Yeah,
Just
Put
said,
them down.
go with what you got, it's still at 2263,
not that big.
so we still got a lot of money left in there.
I'll see what I can do with that.
There you go, Travis.
What's that?
And had to write that down. Give him a little lanyard. It
Medallion,
says, I am Joe Smith,
dispatch.
dispatch.
Give them name badge.
We're getting pretty necklace, dispatch.
There you go.
Get those that's got the magnet on the inside of them, you can put
Yeah,
them whatever you
yeah.
wear.
Don't you have to have a card to get inside that jail?
Yeah, get some big buttons.
Jimmy's got me all over.
Big buttons.
That's how my mind works. I'm multitasking here.
Is it hard to keep up with Stacy from an
Jimmy
outside?
Jones, Mark Jones. In fact, I have a bunch already.
I know. My bad. They were
Jimmy
down.
on now.
Now what?
So I do have.
Okay.
There's no telling.
So let's look at the 560,
Jimmy, did you jump?
I pretty well through with all this anyway.
the 560
Already got it
overtime
done.
and the 560 holiday pay.
I think you should move both those up a little bit. What do you got on that, 38?
30.
I mean, it's up to 14.
Put a line through all the raises.
Well, but, maybe 38 would be good, because 14, you're gonna pay the people that aren't working, so they're not gonna get the overtime when they work at another.
Did you say we're gonna pay the people who aren't working?
Right.
Yeah. We're gonna
That's
pay
American
them.
working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know
we'll
what you
pay
mean.
38,000 on overtime,
38.
and do you think 14 is enough to pay
I
them
do.
off on their holiday?
And I know y'all don't agree with me, but we do it that way anyways, because that's the way we started it out. But
Study
lots of
treasurer.
counties that have
I agree with you.
10-hour shifts for the road and bridge, when they work a 10-hour day and take 8-hour holiday, the other counties make them take 2 hours or get docked 2 hours. Either they reschedule their week to work 8-hour days, or they have to use 2 of their holiday or their banked hours, whatever they have to make up the 2 hours.
So what about 330?
Same as
Like it is?
911.
We're not talking about you yet.
You
We're
see,
talking about
you see
holiday.
through the crystal ball?
Well,
What's the current?
I know, that's the way we've always done it, but a lot of counties
Which one,
either
560?
dock them or
Yeah.
make them take 2 hours to make the whole 40 hours.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the precincts used to change on a week that there was holidays. that
So
there were
on
8-hour days,
560
and then
we
holidays,
budgeted
they
70,
didn't work 10-hour days.
year-to-date, we
Take 2
spent
days off.
41.
But that's y'all's call.
$30,000.
But that's just the way a lot of the counties, they say absolutely not, we do not pay them a 10-hour holiday.
I'm gonna
County
say,
issues an
yeah,
8-hour
yeah.
holiday.
So you get,
We all 2 hours?
once a month, once a week, you get paid.
Yeah, well, that's 2 hours.
Not every 2 weeks.
Because I typically maybe
You get about 3 hours
a
out.
week on 2 days.
So,
Oh, well, they don't show it on the time sheet, so it's one. If they would have done a 9-hour day.
11.
Yeah, 11 and 11, and
I
then
would
just an
say-
8-hour day.
Can you show us like?
Yeah, that would work,
We've got-
'cause that makes.
we've got 2 months
That's
left.
really what they're supposed to be writing down.
So
when
it's
they
been a full
actually-
week.
A lot of times, oh, we worked
here's the
on.
thing,
On a holiday week, then I'll have.
we don't know what's gonna happen
Yeah,
between now and then.
Yeah, you could do that, not a problem.
I would-
Because
I would leave it
they're,
at 70.
it's not paid per day. It's
Be
paid
on the safe side.
Yeah, I don't want to go down, but do you think it's okay at 70?
I think it's okay.
Let's look at the stuff in dispatch, 561 real quick. Now, we can try to get salaries over with, so we can talk about all of them. I'm worried about that holiday and overtime.
So you got overtime.
We got you started on that.
I want to get it done.
Get her done.
So we're down on holiday.
Dispatch.
I mean, it seriously is probably a big issue to try to schedule people on other days after the,
Especially if you don't have people.
right.
Predict what you're gonna be doing next
So
week.
you left your holiday, I mean, your overtime.
So we'll write down the overtime in dispatch because you have been short. We budgeted 18,000 and we've spent over 24,000.
Now remember, only, only is not included in that overtime at all. I pay the only person out of the only line, whether it's holiday, vacation, anything, so don't count that person on the regular holiday.
Okay.
And then you're short, and then on, yeah, the holiday,
Is the holiday pay gonna help bring that down at all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
People up.
yeah,
Same thing for them,
yeah.
so you did 14.4.
See, holiday was budgeted 75,000 and holiday at year-to-date is 74,87. So it's fixing to go up.
yeah. Because those people work extra long hours on those days, and sometimes we have,
I put 14.4.
We're 14, 12 or month.
it's not a monthly, it's hourly, and what's a holiday.
You got 6.
Because we're gonna have people that are working, we're gonna have people that are taking off that are not working, and we're paying all of them. We're paying the people that are working, whatever they work that day.
And people there on a holiday.
8,
They
they get 8. If the other person has to work 14-hour shift, they're gonna get 14 hours on holiday pay, plus the regular.
These 24/7 hours.
Yeah, they are. But-
I mean, I really don't think it's gonna be any more money in the long run. I think it's gonna wash out, and I think it's gonna be better. We're not gonna have to be paying all that money out at the end when they leave. It's gonna just be a steady.
So you think the overtime will be around it?
I think that overtime will come down, I do. I mean, if you sat there and looked at those time sheets, good quality.
They're working a lot.
And they were shorthanded, you know, they did not have a full staff. Yep.
Okay, 18 on overtime,
Yeah, I think your overtime was gonna come
14
down,
on holiday pay.
right?
So they likely 18,000 and 14.
Uh,
All right, now y'all talk about whatever you want
You say you got uniforms coming in right now?
No, I don't have a lot of work too, so that's gonna be kind of false.
to. So let's look at the 560 budget, and go down and look at whatever y'all.
My head is pounding right now.
Jimmy's got me bouncing all over.
Yeah, he works on his own.
He does things.
I can't help it, I'm multitasking.
All of a sudden, you'll pull out a number out of somewhere. in
You're
there.
something, but multitasking is not what I.
This guy's all over the place too, but he's real quiet. I've been watching.
He's surveying. But then sitting here, he's going.
If I don't hear it, I do it. So, when he wants something, he does speak up.
So,
We stayed 70,000 up here, I think we're gonna be covered all right on the field.
What's he at today?
where we at?
We over 41, got low order,
Yes,
3311,
so that's,
3311.
and I don't foresee it going up in that.
No. What are we gonna do on 3311 though?
311 or 311?
311.
311.
One above it.
Well, you're
I
gonna,
have ordered already, so, and I have some more orders to make.
so let's say you spend
If
3,000.
we drop that down to 5,000, and that's still gonna be covered everything.
You got 6,200
Uniform?
left right now.
5,000?
We want y'all covered, I'm
We
sure.
don't want nothing exposed.
No.
There's a few of you out there, we sure don't want nothing exposed.
Are these all custom tailored?
Yeah, we're custom tailored.
What are you thinking on that?
I'm thinking, we can try 5 and see what happens.
Yeah.
I can tell you that,
So it's not your fault, is it, Trevor?
right,
But today, we're at 763.
so that's not.
And if you do 1,500 on 5,000, we're still good.
Right.
No, 2,000. 7,000 divided, it's on 5,600.
But those guys quit, do they take, bring them, their uniforms back?
Oh, absolutely.
No, we have to change the name.
Well,
Take it up or let it out as much as
And it
possible.
depends what you get. You try to find the same size guy.
that's why.
You hire according to uniform
You
size?
have to
We'll
finish.
shut the tag.
Yeah.
That's good
You're
deal.
too fat, you can't go. See ya.
That would seem to be a problem.
What about other equipment?
Where we at now?
Going down to the other equipment, we talked about that because we looked at what was bought out this year, and it was the radars and the cameras and the other equipment, and so he dropped it from 48,000 to 25,000, and I think that's
Trying to foresee anything that I really, might happen.
45,000?
Yes, sir. It's on
The,
570,
560,
560.
573.
Yeah, Jimmy just dropped down to the very bottom of it.
All those others hadn't changed. Guess you can figure they
No,
should.
but, okay, but we do need, let's get that out of the way. Are we through talking about that?
Talk about the bottom line, this one?
No, I want to talk about vehicles first.
I know, let's go about that.
Look at your repair line, and let me give you a date, up to date on auto repair. We budgeted 30,000. 354.
Okay.
We spent nearly 32,000, and he hadn't even got that motor put in that other one, and then you've
I
got,
got it in, we just haven't had it.
and that's over 6,000.
32 is 39,000. 40.
So that line's gonna go crazy on
But
us.
he doesn't put an engine in every.
Okay, let me ask this quickly.
They might.
We got,
We go track.
you replacing 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles, right?
Because we.
You got 2 Tahoes coming and a pickup. Okay, you're gonna be knocking one of those pickups out. And part of this repair was also the, tires and we put a transmission in. And what else?
But when they come, Travis, they have grill guards on them and stuff, that comes out of here, don't it?
No, if they come,
They come with a
Ready.
special grill guards on there, because we were having so much.
Well, you gotta have a grill guard. There's so many pigs out here.
It's extra.
That saved us a lot of body damage.
so when we get these cars in, we're gonna have pretty well on those vehicles and most everything.
For the most part, yes, sir.
But looking at what our payments are next year, and I figured the payments in here off of what he's got, there's 3 of them that have balloon notes on them for next year.
How much is that?
$2,443.47.
So we make the payment of $10,836, and then there's a $9,000 balloon due on an 18-hoe Tahoe.
Anyhow,
And then on another tally-ho, there's also the $10,836 due, and there's a $9,000 balloon, all due next year. And then there's another 18
Okay,
Tahoe.
on those 18s, is one of those that we're gonna be trading?
all 3 of them, actually.
Next year.
All the 3 that we have those balloons on are the ones that's in that lease program.
Okay.
Well, but see, I've got 2 balloons due right now on ones that you're trading in
Right.
Yes.
this year. And they're, those balloons, and so
How
right
many
now,
miles-
American
how many
National
miles
just
you
letting
have
us
on
ride
the-
it.
On the ones that were,
The ones that 6.5 below the wind.
They need to
No,
be
they're
traded
18.
next year.
Yeah.
well, Devon's just went in to get a transmission replaced that was under warranty.
Okay.
And he has, I think, 77,000 miles, so he's pretty much right on, I mean, where he probably needs to be for mileage right now.
Okay. What about the other one?
Not for sure, I'd have to look.
Okay. So what you're saying is you're thinking about trading in 3
Next year.
Just rolling them over like in that piece, just,
Okay.
you know, and it's like having that transmission replaced didn't cost us anything. It
That's
was,
good, well, otherwise it would have cost you because we had to.
Absolutely.
If it had been out of warranty, right?
And I
If they
think
keep
we'll be
on,
money ahead, keep as much of the warranty.
I think so.
because if you don't, you're gonna pay 20,000 on each one of them and keep them with multi-miles on them.
Yeah.
Lots of, that repairs, it's ridiculous. We need to.
The only thing that I have a problem with though is the time frame that when we say we're gonna buy, the time frame we're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Well, COVID had a lot to do with this year. I think it really
It's
messed.
COVID.
You know, him. But it really messed us up on getting those, and it could have saved us some of this repair had we gotten them, but hindsight.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, you're right, because we were gonna replace. It still wouldn't have cost, well, it didn't cost us anything on repairs on.
You still, you might have a lot of, you're gonna have here today.
What do you
You will have expense on 575. 575, oh yeah.
on the principal? See, I've got it, the payments figured, making those payments, because we're gonna have to next year, and then I estimated, well,
Yeah, October's paying 34,500.
we are. And then I estimated the 3 payments we're gonna have this year. I just estimated the ones that we're getting, kind of about what these were on the payments, and figured that in on that 70,000 for the principal and 64 on the interest. But I do have those that we're gonna receive this year estimated, maybe all. I won't know till we get them and I get the contract. 2021, yes. Payments?
You're talking about 575, 576, 560, 575?
I don't use those lines, but I made those, but I moved to look up on 555 and 556. We've had $52,000 in principal, and we've had 5,000 in interest, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I can't get rid of those
Capital
lines.
outlays where the vehicles go?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Principal and interest.
Cannot expense went down $5,000. That's good.
And that's mostly your food, your vet bills. If they have to have cages or. That thing, we'll just, wait, let me make sure I'm not in it.
I may check one this year too.
Hey,
All right.
Y'all through?
there.
No, sir.
OCD kicked in, didn't
Should
it?
have retired one this year, but we still are training.
Oh, you're taking it.
This way, but you don't push it this way. How come it's moving?
Okay, now we're
Oh, flush.
It's flush.
What did you put in 555, 556?
70,
70,000.
and that's just estimating those 3 that we're getting, we haven't gotten yet. And like I said, I just based them on what we kind of paid for the top of payments before, but we're also doing some trade-in stuff on that, but I don't know if we're getting anything, because most of them aren't running very well.
gray one? No, the white one. He was there this morning, I come by.
The black stocks.
Yeah. But he come out there, that's where he parked. While he's there,
Where was he parked at?
he backed in.
Oh, yeah. He gets there pretty early every morning.
Really
What
nothing
y'all
else.
thinking on that, officer? What? What y'all thinking on?
Talk to them about, and I do not have that salary or that insurance figured into the total right here, or that employee.
But the bond supervisor?
No, this bottom one right here, the first page,
Training
this
program.
is what I'm trying to ask, what I'm asking for is another, want to move one of my jailers into a position where he's taking care of all of the training coordinating stuff and all the evidence. Take that completely away. He's been working in evidence with Moody for over a year now, and it's Will Cochran.
How's that evidence audit working out?
Working good. So far, so good. Everything been running pretty smooth.
We can go find it if we want to see it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's very important that we have someone as a training coordinator full-time, because as Matt can tell you, they tell you that a training coordinator needs to spend at least 50% of his time doing training, working on the training coordinator job. So when you take that and you have somebody who's an investigator doing that same job also, something's not working out. One of those two are not getting their job done because they're spending a lot of time on the other one. And the training coordinator job is very important. We don't want to lose our license for one. We can do a lot of in-house training that's cost us zero on expenses. Instead of sending people off, we have to do 40 hours of continuing education every 2 years on peace officers. We have to do 4 hours a year on the jailers. So, I mean, dispatch has the same thing. I just think it'd be very good for the sheriff's office if we can have somebody who can do that full time.
You think you can generate some cash flow from those counties?
I think once we get through with all this COVID stuff, we'll start jail school. We've had jail school twice now, we've had canceled. But once we get through all this hump here, I believe we can get all these jail schools. We have other schools we can also put on.
And he wouldn't ever get any overtime or anything.
No, it's just Monday through Friday,
He can be used either in the jail or in there, either one, so he can be bound.
yeah, he can bounce around. If we need him in the jail, he can go back there, he'll have his jailer's license. And I'll tell you something else about this guy. We took his test for dispatcher. So it's like he's very eager to multitask. I just have to train him,
Any words for that?
He's very, very willing to learn how to dispatch. I mean, he's already, like I said, stepped up and took testing, but he hadn't even took any time in there, so. Good asset, I really don't want to lose him.
So if we get 3 more vehicles in this next fiscal year,
He needs to fail. Didn't we think of changing subject now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we get these 3 this year that we have and make some payments. Then next year we get them renewed, so we don't make payments any next year. And then the next year,
So we're
but then
good.
you're gonna have some,
we're good in that.
yeah.
Right, so we do $10,000 on canine expense, right?
Bring your bell.
Jimmy Wiley here.
I thought we already went past that one.
We did. He is messing with you.
What I was.
Why is it 5,000 less? You not feeding the dogs?
What?
Yeah,
Can't
it's
just be,
5,000 less.
oh, you went from 20 to 15, that's 25% decrease.
Well, because you built those things back there.
Well, you know, this, hey,
Well, no, that deal you got a little good idea over there,
okay.
Yeah, boy.
All right, so where do we, are we going to dispatch now, or are we?
Yeah, we can.
Wait.
So we're
So
through the
you're
K-Max.
saying throw this guy in at 118, right? And his total salary is what?
Well, it's the salary of a
Jailer?
jail supervisor.
Jail supervisor.
Like we're adding line 118.
Like, give him a corporal salary.
So the salary is that 36,751, and your FICA is the 2,800,
Okay.
3,100 is retirement, and then there's your insurance is the 8,880, which is not added in.
What is this super jail salary?
Supervisor jail salary, that's why I'm
Oh,
saying that.
super jail salary.
Jello salad.
Supervisor jail salary.
You know, you're gonna make it 118?
Holy crap.
Yes,
Line 118.
yes.
Can you change that? The one there that says assistant jail administrator?
Wait a minute, whoa, we're still
Oh,
on page
up
one.
here, yeah, we're still looking at it.
Sure.
Where are you at now?
Well, but he's putting this one in the SO.
He gonna put it in the SO?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he went way too far past it.
I'm fine.
Well,
Oh.
come back, he starts
See
on
why
my
I
jail.
drink vodka? Vodka doesn't smell. I just sit there and
It
sip
kind
on
of
it.
makes it.
So is this 36,571 his wish
Sal-
list one?
Yes,
Or,
yes.
so what's the regular one right now? Like the regular corporal for the jail salary?
That is.
That is.
Oh, it's not your next main
No, that's what they're making right
new
now.
thingy?
It's not a new thing, I don't do that. It's the-
No, like your raises.
Right.
This
Yeah,
is,
no,
it's without the
I
raise.
just figured it on what it is right now, yes.
Okay.
Now you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Can we look at dispatch?
Please. This won't take long.
It's the 560.
I'm hungry. That's better. That's no problem.
So really that overtime and that holiday pay,
We're good on it. 18 and 14 for it.
And we're buying uniforms this year too, so it's not a true number.
you know, education is so hard because so many things in education got canceled this year.
It did. I mean, ours did.
That-
Now, are you gonna do? Well, what is T-Club or not T-Club's anymore? What are they doing with the hours?
Eco,
Yeah. What are they doing?
right now, they're not doing. In other words, if you have somebody who is has their temporary license, they own that temporary license until they go back to normal, and then they will give you a certain amount of time
Okay.
to get that accomplished.
I didn't know if you needed to go up on that, so it'll be fine.
I think it'll be good.
And on that computer, everybody's, that's the net data figures on their maintenance.
63, 60.
What was spending telephone?
Hey, speaking of cell phones,
We didn't say so.
I didn't say anything about cell phones.
But he said telephone, right?
Telephone.
3,200, we still have to stop there, we'll be fine.
Be right.
Okay, let's talk about cell phones.
we need to figure out something to have it dispatched whenever these lines go down, as often as they go down. Instead of these girls having to use their cell phones to take calls.
Like some of those, what do you track?
Yeah.
Or whatever, the.
Things about Walmart.
What about a cricket?
Cricket.
Cricket has no
Smart
contract.
Talk, whatever they call them, Spectrum.
Smart, yeah, isn't that what Marcia got?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what cricket's good.
You
I just know that, Yes, I have Cricket.
Do you have Cricket?
It's better than
How much-
AT&T and Sprint. all of
Like,
it.
if we got one, we had to have it where we keep, I mean, you put minutes on it, or?
You just pay a straight
Just like you do any other.
$40 or whatever a month.
Unlimited?
And then if something happened, I can put it on the website, that, hey, you know, call this number.
Call our emergency cell
If we just have one?
Yeah.
If they're at
I
the,
think that'd be a good idea.
if they're at
I think
the,
it's actually $45 a month or unlimited.
So where do y'all wanna?
So just throw that in. I'd go under your just cell phone, Travis, and add
Well,
$45 a month.
But what that is a cell
Dispatch.
phone for the dispatch supervisor.
But why can't we just do it under that?
No,
We don't have
You
mine.
need to have it where you can keep an eye on what it's doing.
Right.
We leave it on for